Welcome back to 13 Reasons to Try. This is your reminder to keep showing up even when life feels just so impossible. If you're here, you are already doing the hardest part, trying. And trust me, that is totally enough. I'm Louise, your host, your cheerleader, and your unapologetically messy guide to navigating this chaotic thing we call life. If this podcast feels like a pep talk from someone who has been through the trenches, that is exactly what it's meant to be. Before we dive in, if you are loving the podcast, please take a moment to rate it 5 stars and leave a quick review. Seriously, your support keeps this going and it means the absolute world to me. So thank you if you've already done it. So if you've been living in survival mode, if you've been hustling so hard that you've forgotten what rest feels like, this one is for you. So let's start with some context. I'm an only child. I've got no siblings, no big sister to pave the way or warn me about life's potholes, no one to share clothes with. So from day one, I had to figure it out all on my own. So one of my friends from school, Hannah, who I'm still friends with now, she was really lucky and had 2 older sisters, so 2 big sisters. I was, and still kind of am, very, very jealous. So Hannah used to come to my house for peace and quiet, and I used to go to her house for the madness because she actually had 3 siblings. Lucky Hannah, hey? But here's the thing, I wasn't totally alone. I had Ms. Magazine. So Ms. Magazine was the holy grail of teen mags, like Ms. Magazine, Girl Talk. It was maybe around the same time as Cosmo, but I was way too young for that. So Ms. Magazine was my big sister. So I learned everything from those glossy pages in combination with the film Mean Girls. That was the very first DVD that my mum bought me. And I think all of us had troubles with girls at school. Girls can be mean. And I used to armour myself with Ms. Magazine in one hand and watching Mean Girls in the morning, every morning before school. Used to do the tutorials in Ms. Magazine, do my makeup and hair, and then I used to arm myself with the knowledge that Mean Girls gave me every single morning. So with that knowledge, it actually got me my very first job when I was 17. So fast forward a good few years, and I was sat down on the benefit counter in Debenhams and having my makeup done for Valentine's Day, I think. I was sat there and I was thinking, oh my God, this is the dream job. Like, I would love to do this. And the girl that was doing my makeup was called Pippa. Shout out Pippa. And she was so lovely. And I was like, I love this job, like the idea of makeup, obviously through Ms. Magazine, but I really idolised her as well. So she told me all about the whole recruitment process. I'd never had a job before. This was my very first job. And she told me that they had auditions. So I managed to get an audition, and it was very much like the X Factor. You were on the shop floor and you had to go up to people and get them to come over to the counter, and you applied makeup on them. I think there was 3 products that we had to use. And then if you weren't good enough, they sent you up the escalator. It was so brutal. Like, it's hilarious looking back on it now. I'm pretty sure that they wouldn't be able to get away with that now. But this was, I don't know, 15 years ago. You know, very different times. But I did get the job. I was very lucky. So there on the Benefit Cosmetics counter, I learned how to make people feel seen, heard and fabulous. And I met so many gorgeous humans. And I actually ended up going into bridal makeup because of it. So that was my first ever business, was bridal makeup. That was amazing and it taught me so much. But being your own big sister or being your own sister is more than just makeup tutorials. It's about survival. So growing up, I didn't just want a sister. I desperately needed one. Someone to say, you've got this, even when the world doesn't. And now here I am, 30-something, finally stepping into that role, not just for myself though, for you as well. So let's talk about the phrase that you might have heard called big dick energy, aka BDE. So that term is usually associated with men for the very obvious reasons. But in terms of harnessing that energy as a woman, the confidence, the swagger. I've got this attitude for a long time. It was my absolute default setting. Why? Because it had to be. So, as you know, I survived a decade in design, I built a business, but some things I don't often talk about is, and I won't ever go into detail about this, but I think it's important to note that underneath that outward success, throughout, since I can remember, I have survived and endured years of abuse. And on top of that, a couple of years ago, I experienced something no one should ever have to. And I think as women, we know what that means. So for years, I have lived in survival mode. My business was my comfort blanket, my big sister. And that kind of trauma, it completely rewires you. You don't have time to feel. You are just too busy surviving. And that is what I have done for a long, long time. Then when I thought I'd found stability, so I stepped away from the pure design side of things and went into making my very first product, which I am still deeply, deeply proud of. I was just about to move into my own place and I just really wanted a headboard and I couldn't find one that I liked anywhere. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to design it myself. So I found a manufacturer to do it, got it made, got a prototype made, put it out on Instagram and it went mental. And it went mental for a good few years. We ended up turning it into a bed and it was fantastic. That manufacturer was up north and I spent a lot of time getting to know them, building trust, building a relationship. I even travelled like a 10-hour round trip to go and see them at Christmas to really get to know them on a one-to-one personal basis and really level up that relationship, because relationships in business are key, and making sure that relationship is completely watertight. Unfortunately, just as I really did start to trust these people, they betrayed me, and it was the final straw and it led to a breakdown. And that's when absolutely everything fell apart for me. It led to the most darkest period of my life. And if I didn't have that big dick energy, I would not be here, because I then went full force into protecting my business, which is, I don't have children. So my business is my baby. It's my firstborn. That big dick energy got me through that process, that time of my life. It got me through corporate life in the early days of my career. It got me through the early years of building the business itself. And even on a lighter note, 5 soul-crushing years on dating apps. But here's the truth. That BDE is not sustainable. What it's like, if you haven't experienced it yourself, it is like running on adrenaline 24/7. No one can do that. So eventually you crash. And when you do, you crash hard. It's catastrophic. So when that happened, when I had my breakdown, enter my yoga therapist. Now, I know what you're thinking, a yoga therapist. Like, really, Louise, that is so extra. But hear me out. Okay, so I went to this meditation session during the very early days of post-breakdown, and I met this lady, and then she got in contact with me and said that she was doing yoga therapy. And then we did these sessions as a group, and we started to identify that my solar plexus chakra was completely out of balance. So if you don't know about chakras, we have chakras in our body. It is a spiritual thing. Whether you believe it or not, I think it is a good thing to have in your mind. I won't go into detail about the different chakras, but basically your solar plexus is your center of personal power and self-worth. And so mine was like completely out of whack. It was like, no personal power, no self-worth, like it was gone. That was because I was so locked into this masculine energy that I'd completely forgotten how to rest, how to feel, and how to just simply be. So masculine energy is all about doing. So hustling, achieving, pushing forward. It's that Gary V #hustle culture. It is that very masculine business entrepreneurship mindset of go, go, go all the time. Even if you're absolutely knackered, just go for it. And that is how you build a business. That is really how you build a business. So if you're thinking about, I really want a business, it looks so glamorous, amazing, unfortunately, you're going to have to step into that masculine energy, and you're going to have to go through the things that I did in order to get the success, which for me, it wasn't worth it. It was not worth it at all. It's also how you survive corporate nonsense. I'm sure if you're working your way up the corporate ladder, you know what that means. It's dog eat dog. But feminine energy, that is about being. It's about healing, creating, nurturing. And so my yoga therapist said something to me that really stuck with me. And she said, you can't heal in the same energy that hurt you. So that is when I realised that my energy needed to completely shift. So no more big dick energy. It was time for big sister energy, because I needed a big sister. I've always needed a big sister. I've always needed that person in my corner. And I didn't realise that person could be me. So what is big sister energy? It's soft but strong, compassionate but firm. It's the vibe of someone who's been through it and is here to guide you without judgment. So that might not actually be someone that's related to you. That is just someone who's going to be like, you know what, I've got your back. I have got your back. So for me, this was not a quick overnight process. I know it sounds like it when you hear it on a podcast, you hear it as a story from someone else when you sat across from them having a coffee. This took about 2 years, being honest with myself. So for me, that stepping into that big sister energy meant completely overhauling my life. I moved from very toxic environment, building my business and staying in that toxic environment to build the business and keep it going. I moved into sleepy Suffolk, into a little cottage. So imagine it like cozy vibes, no drama, no toxic energy, just peace. And that is what I needed, peace and safety. Just things like not staying in the same room for 24 hours a day, because one, it's a toxic environment, and two, you're building a business as well, and not just building a business, I was keeping it alive. I was keeping my baby alive. I was keeping the thing that meant the most to me alive, but I didn't realise I wasn't actually keeping myself alive. I wasn't safe. I wasn't at peace. I was literally just surviving. So big sister energy is about creating a life that feels good. It's about saying no to what drains you and saying yes to what fills you up. I am in this energy, but I am still learning about boundaries. Boundaries are so important, and I think you don't really get to harness boundaries unless you respect yourself and step out of that people-pleasing attitude that I think survival teaches you. So boundaries, we'll talk about it another time, but yeah, boundaries is massive. And the start of leaning into boundaries and learning about them is saying no to what drains you. So if you've made it this far, you're probably enjoying the 13 Reasons to Try podcast. If you want us to continue to make even more amazing content and bring in some more incredible guests to you, you can buy me a coffee. Buy Me a Coffee is a simple, free, donation-based tool. Head to buymeacoffee.com/13 Reasons to Try. We really want this podcast to be a safe space for you. So it's a big sister in audio form. Whether you're navigating a career change, a breakup, or just trying to figure out who the hell you are, I'm here for you. If you're feeling stuck in that survival mode, if you're saying yes to everyone, but inside you're like, literally, I'm going to have a nervous breakdown, let's talk about how to realign your solar plexus chakra. So this is what I learned from my breakdown and my yoga therapist. Thank you so much. So first is to spend time near water. There's something so deeply healing about water, and it is what aligns you back to your feminine energy. So whether it's the sea, a lake, or a good old-fashioned bath. So I'm definitely a bath girl. I don't have a bath every day. I have a shower every day. I have a bath probably once a fortnight, maybe even once a month. But it's with candles, music, maybe a cheeky glass of wine. I'm probably more like in the winter, like a red wine girl and then a white wine girl. Also, if you've never tried Asti before, it's a very, very sweet, sparkling wine. It's dead cheap, low alcohol, so you can have the whole bottle and not feel too dreary-eyed. And it's great in a bubble bath. And then secondly is creating a space for rest and reflection. So things like journaling, meditation, also taking yourself on a solo date. This is so underrated, but like I know one of my best friends was in a lot of long-term relationships, and when she became single, she found it hard to be on her own. And the one thing that I wanted to teach her that I had learned is like doing shit yourself. And that doesn't just mean like changing a light bulb yourself, just like going to the cinema yourself. And I learned that in a very extreme way when I moved to Australia, where I didn't know anyone. I literally moved to the other side of the world because of my job. And it was literally either go to the cinema on your own or don't go at all. So that's how I learned, and it's so great. Just like, just taking yourself for a coffee. And yeah, it's uncomfortable at first, but take a book, read, even if you don't actually read it, just like, at least it gives you something that makes you less anxious about it. And things like, I don't know, you can go to like a yoga class or meditation where you don't know anyone, just like really push yourself out of your comfort zone. And then if that's too overwhelming for you, just come back, rest and reflect. And I am a trained Reiki healer, so I do meditation in a way that connects to Reiki. So if you are interested in that, it's very, very easy to do the part 1 of Reiki, and that teaches you how to heal yourself. So definitely highly recommend that. And thirdly, boundaries. So this is the hardest and most important step. As I said, I definitely haven't mastered this at all. Like, I've barely even touched on it, but it is the most important step. It's all about protecting your energy, saying no to people that drain you, even if it's uncomfortable. Because we all know it's so much easier saying yes than saying no, but it's short-term pain for long-term gain rather than the other way around if you say yes. So have a think about that. So healing isn't about surviving, it is about thriving and keeping thriving as well. It's about creating a life where you feel safe, seen and loved. Most of you listening are women, and let me just say this, I totally see you. I know how much you're carrying, like jobs, relationships, families, dreams, mental health, physical health. We carry a huge amount. And sometimes you just need someone to say, I'm proud of you. And that is that big sister energy. So I'm saying this to you now directly. I am proud of you. But also say it to yourself. Be your own big sister. Say, oh, do you know what? I'm really proud of me today. Even if it is just a case of, I made myself a coffee today, or I got myself out of bed. Like, any little thing like that is something to be proud of. They don't have to be these huge worthy moments. They literally can be like, yeah, I got myself out of bed today. Well done. Like, you're bossing it, babe. But let me remind you, you don't have to carry it all. You are totally allowed to rest. Hustle only serves your bank balance, and money isn't everything. So you're allowed to say no. So that big sister energy is your permission slip to let go of what's not serving you. So it can be a job, it can be a relationship, it can be that routine that someone on Loose Women said that would be a good idea. Like, no, today I just want to sit in bed and scroll TikTok. But just do you. Just really just do you. Do whatever allows you to rest. Sometimes people's rest is just going for a run and knowing that all of these like self-help books and blogs and Instagrams and even TikToks tell you, oh, you should be doing this and you should be doing that. But really learn who you are, because your big sister would know you inside out. So it's time for you to learn who you are inside out and what rest means to you. I'm not here to dictate that to you. So like we do in every single episode, I'm going to give you yet another reason to try. My reason to try is be your own big sister. And that doesn't matter whether you are an only child as well, or even if you have big sisters, you can be your own big sister. So embrace that energy, let go of that big dick energy, and remember, You can be your own big sister. That's it for today. Super deep episode, super intense. So we're going to keep it nice and short. But I hope this episode gave you something to think about. I didn't have anyone like this to listen to, so I thought it was about time to get my voice out there and start helping people from a place of quite deep pain, but it's all about turning that pain into power, right? That's it for today. I hope this episode gave you something to think about, something to feel, and maybe even something to change. If you're loving this podcast, don't forget to rate it 5 stars and please leave us a review. It makes such a difference. Until next time, keep trying, keep healing, and keep showing up for yourself. And remember, there is always a reason to try.